Osu Lazer situation is crazy. Is this more of a situation? Is this more of a drama? No, it's more of a public discourse that's going on to the X site. And before I go into the weeds here, I want to break down the context of this. What is Lazer? What is the stable? I'll just super fast go over this. But essentially, Osu Lazer is the new client by Pepe that he is pushing onto everyone. I mean, it's been around for years, but it's just recently where they're actually motivating people to play it because it's now not experimental, but an actual client that people can play with. And one of the greatest things about it, or I suppose one of the most drastic changes, besides all the flashing lights and the new animations and whatnot, is the fact that there's no note lock onto the Lazer client. And note lock essentially in Osu game is essentially if you're trying to play a space stream, for example, and you miss one part of it, well, the next 5 notes, which are in rapid succession, you are not able to hit them even though you would play them right. Like you tap them right and you also aim them right. Well, you're going to miss them because you missed a note before it. And that whole chain missing happens a lot in stable because of this note lock. And a lot of people, when they play stream maps, they get a lot more misses than usual, even though they are aiming those parts of the stream right. They just miss one part and then boom, they're dead. And this is something that me and a lot of other stream players hate about note lock in stable. But some people have the notion that, oh, maybe it's a good thing. It's a disciplinary action for you to stop missing. Like, oh, well, you wouldn't have to deal with note lock if you never miss in the first place forehead, but that is more of an idealistic scenario here that not a lot of people can attain, since F-Scene, especially on some of these maps, is not exactly an everyday thing unless you're playing it and it's super familiar to you. But the fact is that Lazer, it is pretty much a big client. A lot of people love it for the note lock lack of it, but a lot of people don't like it because of the UI. It is a lot less popular than stable. I'm going to cover that a bit more later. But before I say anything about that, I will talk about the main subject about this, where the situation about the Osu Lazer. So on the tweets on Twitter, there was essentially this video by Etrina, the former speed goat. But basically what's going on is that he has the video about ninerik here, which is essentially the number 3 Osu player right now. He's a speed goat, and I think he's from like Norway, but he's really, really good at the speed game. And he's essentially having this clip here. I'm going to play it for you guys really fast.
Not playing Lazer, because I'm not going to teach myself to be a player that chain misses all the time. It's not because I don't like the client, it's just because I want to play the game properly.
But essentially, just to summarize this clip, it is ninerik, and he is quite furiously saying, okay, well, I'm not going to switch to Lazer because I don't want to train myself to chain miss, because in Lazer game, if you're going to play Osu, then you get less disciplined if you play in a manner where you chain miss. So essentially, if you miss one part of the stream, you can still hit the rest of the stream. But on stable, if you miss that one part of the stream, then you're fucked for like the next 5 notes. So he's essentially saying here, I don't want to be motivated to chain miss because my aim might suffer as a result of it, which is a good argument here. But I guess his delivery ticked off Atrina, for example. I personally don't see anything wrong with ninerik's retort here, I suppose. I think it's a pretty normal reaction. Essentially, if you're farming your ass off on this Glory Days map, I would be hating to play this 100 times in a row, and then some of my chat members are saying, dude, play Lazer, please, 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 and then you have your own takes on this, like, oh, I am going to be the improvement GOAT and I want to get all the SS on this. No, I'll do that later, right? So he's that type of person. Of course, I think his anger is justified. But Ichina, he was like, dude, like, what does this take? Like, what the fuck? And I guess they're just like so bored out of their mind that they have to yap about this. But Ichina, he basically said, honestly, God, just say Lazer feels like crap to play instead of whatever this is. And playing the game properly in question, misaiming one note and either completely losing a run because it won't let you hit anything afterwards, or literally managing to keep combo stay alive. So I think Ichina might be a Lazer glazer, as you're seeing from this take here. I'm not sure if that's like his actual true feelings, but he's essentially saying that, okay, well, if you play the game improperly, then you miss one part and you're fucked for the rest of the run. Like, let's say you're 2000 combo in Glory Days and you're at the last stream and then you miss one part at the end and then you miss the next 5 and then you're dead. You know how tilting that will be? But on Lazer, that would pretty much never be a thing because there's no note lock, right? But yeah, Etrina here, he is having his own argument here. And of course, ninerik was responding to this, and I guess there was some backlash on him for some reason. I don't even really know why. I think that his anger is justified. I just want to say that again. But let's just look at his message here. To clarify what I meant in this clip, I don't want to adjust to the mechanics of Lazer just yet, as I play a lot of tournaments on stable, understandable. I also want my scores to appear on my profile without having to check Lazer mode on to see them, also understandable. I've also had tons of issues with lag in Lazer, which I can't seem to fix no matter how I try. So that's also an issue that some people do. But this is something I definitely could have worded better, but I was very tilted in the moment. At the same time, I was hard on my chat, pinging me and spamming me to play Laser all stream. Once again, understandable. And what client I play on really shouldn't matter to anyone but me, and I'll always be entitled to my own opinion on that matter. I'll simply switch over when I'm ready. So I think that take by ninerik is completely valid. I think if you were to give the L to someone, it would be Etrino, but I think this whole situation, again, is just kind of dumb. But I want to give some arguments by some of the commenters where they're giving a bit more of a additional take on this, where like Niederland, for example, he is one of my good friends, but he's essentially saying here in support of Lazer, look, everyone's switching to Lazer because a note lock is a fucking snowflake. And I meant to say that not in support of Lazer, like against note lock, essentially. Like he's a super improvement dude, like ninerik in Osu games, essentially. But low-key, everyone's switching to Lazer because a note lock is a fucking snowflake. Stop seeing note lock as a bad thing and start looking at it as if it's that one strict teacher at school who you hated, but in the end actually turned out to be the best teacher you ever had. Yeah, he's giving a pretty good metaphor here, completely valid, pretty nice rhetoric. But also another person here, LV Takadochi, saying, nah, those teachers that punish you even more for little mistakes are the pest and not good at all. Fuck them. Not having note log fuck me over every time is a blessing and so refreshing. So yeah, it's pretty much two sides of the coin here. You can't really say, oh, well, I agree with this person completely. It's a bit of a mixed bag here where note log, it either is something that super improves you or it's something that you super enjoy, but it could be spoiling you a bit. And in my own opinion, I want to say that in terms of the Lazer and note lock, well, it is kind of nice to be able to play certain parts of the map. I mean, I know there's no fail, but I think there might be some sort of positive feedback loop for you actually passing that one part of the map and not dying because of note lock, and it actually makes you get better at streams. So me personally, I've been playing a shit ton of Osu again recently after not playing for a bit, and well, I have improved on streams quite nicely. I'm gonna post scores that I've made currently that I've never made before in my life, but I've been playing a bit of streams on Lazer, and I think my improvement in playing these super high star stream maps are a result of me playing on Osu Lazer and not dying on super hard maps anymore. And I'll give some more analysis about that later on, like a comparison of how much of an improvement Lazer is compared to stable. If you play streams, if you play jumps, it's most likely not much of a difference, but streams, it is huge. And I'm gonna say that in terms of the argument here, in just summarizing the ninerik Etrino response, I can't really say if I can choose a side here, and not really gonna comment much about it, except that there is a discourse about it, some people arguing about it, and my thoughts on it personally with Lazer. So the note lock, of course, is amazing if you don't like note lock on stable and you don't like dying after missing on one thing. And me personally, I like playing the hidden flow aim, and on stable my biggest issues is that if I miss on one part of the stream, then I die and it makes me not pass a lot of maps. But on Lazer, I can play a lot more maps and pass them because I don't have the note lock. So for me personally, I like that a lot. But the fact that it makes you less of a player because you aren't disciplined by note lock anymore, I think this is more of an argument of, like, let's say in RuneScape, well, there is like power creeps that eventually happen in this MMORPG, and then all the old players like, oh my gosh, well, back in my day, I used to have to do this for like 10k XP an hour woodcutting on the oak logs, but now you have your U logs and now you're making 20k an hour. Oh my gosh. Like, I think it's a bit of a sophisticated sort of a prideful answer, a bit of a comparison. And if I were to really say, there might be some sort of a reason to play note lock because it makes you lock in more. I have never really personally, anecdotally, felt that experience, but I like the Lazer a lot more, and I'm playing on Lazer a lot more recently compared to stable. I sometimes play stable if, like, I don't like the UI on Lazer because I'm still getting used to the UI on Lazer. I really don't like it compared to stable, but the case is that I think that you would play both personally, but it depends on your play style and I suppose your own ego on it. But personally, I think the Lazer and no note lock is much better, even if some people think that it's a big issue because of what I said about that comparison, if the RuneScape sort of deal. But if I were to give a comparison about this, there is this map called Supergirl, and I used to play it on stable, and I would get about a 78% on it. So that's kind of a shit score on this 8-star map here. But when I play it on Lazer, I get 10 to 12%. So while I'm playing or while I'm talking about about this, I'm going to show gameplay about how this is going about, like a side-by-side comparison. But essentially, during this, as you guys can see, I am landing a lot more notes on the Lazer side than on the stable side. And it is because there is no note lock on Lazer, and Supergirl is like this flow Amy control thing, and is very easy to miss because of note lock. And it's a pretty big drastic difference. I didn't get like 10% better all of a sudden. This was over the course of like a day. Like, it'll be insane for me to go from a 78% to a 90% AC literally in a day, and I improved that fast. That's usually not the case. If anything, will be like maybe 1 to 3% higher on the next day. But this is absolutely insane on how much of a difference Lazer makes. And yeah, just to justify again, I would play Lazer more because of quality of life. So I also want to give another thing about ninerik's situation here, about why don't most people switch to Lazer. Thing about ninerik here is that he's giving his takes on this about why he's not switching to Lazer. So he had the whole thing about plays tournaments on stable, and he doesn't like how you have to switch on Lazer mode, and there's some lag on it. So a lot of these issues are what I think are a migration issue to Lazer, migrating stable users into Lazer users. So it's a bit of an analogy to like people when they start going from Windows 7 to Windows 8 like a lot of years ago. Well, a lot of people were so used to Windows 7, it had such a nice UI, but then when they were forced to upgrade to Windows 8, they hated it and they had to do all this stuff. And a lot of people literally went out of their way to go back to the older version Windows 7 because they hated the UI of Windows 8 so much. And it's a pretty similar thing here in Osu Lazer, where yeah, there are some issues in migration for people to do it. And the thing is that Osu Stable, it's already a pretty good product where you are going to play the video games with the circles, and there's not really much of a motive except for like the note lock, which is a pretty niche thing for some people. Some people don't even care about that. Well, most of these people, they're not really going to be motivated to migrate to Lazer, and also because of this large difficulty wall, being the UI is very, very difficult to use. For Peppy to essentially motivate more people to switch to Lazer and get people to not get on stable anymore, there's two routes he can do with this. So either he removes the stable version completely and forces everyone to go on Lazer, which of course he's going to get a shit ton of backlash if he does that, or he essentially develops some way to migrate stable more into Lazer. I'm not really sure how he's going to do that. I'm not really a genius in that regards. And before I close out this video here, I just want to give another point about the future trends with Osu Lazer. So Peppy, I think he's trying to get more people onboarded to Osu Lazer if you're a new player, and that's a pretty noble cause, because I think for newer players, they would have a much better time playing on Lazer compared to Osu game. But you got to also realize, where is this influx of new players coming from? And it could be that, well, the Osu game niche, unless they go out to other places. The thing is that Osu game's been around for many, many years now, and for it to get even more Osu players, I don't know. If I were to have like a feeling, I don't have the data to back me up, but I would say maybe around 70 to 90% of Osu players have already been reached at this point for its player base, because it's been around for so long and the rhythm game niche has been around for so long. Well, where are the new players are going to come in? Well, we have all the other niches like the MOBAs and the Battle Royales and the FPS games. Well, Osu is not really like that. It's more of its own categorized niche, and a lot of people who play Osu, they usually return to it. So a lot of current Osu players are players that have been playing for many, many years now. It's not really going to be new players like that that's going to use Lazer. So I don't know if that approach is fundamentally great, but if I were to give a Google Trends analysis here, so essentially Osu game, its interest over time is stationary, and it essentially peaks. It oscillates a lot of interest around the summer holiday season, so from June to around the winter season, so like Christmas time. And that makes sense, because a lot of people who play Osu are kids, and these guys are on break during these times, and mostly they're grinding, locking in at school before those times. So I think that aspect in itself explains why it's oscillatory like that. So if Osu game wanted to take advantage of that, then what I would say that Peppy could do is that when the holiday seasons come around and he knows that more people are hopping onto Osu game, because you got to realize that the target audience aren't going to be like full-ass grown-ass adults, right? They're most likely going to be already playing their old childhood games. His audience that he should target are the little kids who have all the time in the world, and they are extremely, extremely fast to improve at things. And these little kids maybe maybe Jan Alpha or whatnot. Well, if he wants him to play Laser, so one of the things he should do is really push it. So if I were to point out one flaw in the OSU game site, so I'm going to pull out this graphic where essentially if you try to download OSU game, there's two options here. It is the left, which is stable, and Laser on the right. And already this is a flaw because if you wanted to really push Laser more than stable, you should put Laser on the left and then OSU on the right more, or you just completely remove the stable download button completely and then instead replace it in the middle. So I have this scuffed ass painted version, but essentially you download OSU and there's a big ass button just for OSU Laser and then like a smaller subtext of alternately down the old version. And my reason why for this is that, of course, you would get more people to force install Laser because they don't know the stable version is even an option. But also the current version, well, most people, they read left to right, not right to left like the Japanese when they read the manga. And when that is the case, then especially in an English sort of targeted audience here, it's more of a thing to put Laser on the left and stable onto the right. That would probably increase the click-through rate, I guess, of people downloading OSU Laser more. And that in itself would be a drastic change, I think, just from having that funnel for people to download Laser, whatever it is for Pepe's motives here. I mean, it depends on him if he wants to go down that route or not. That's just from my own autistic analysis there. But yeah, that could be the future trend of it and what he could do. My own suggestions about this. But yeah, just want to talk about the OSU game Laser. I just saw this on Twitter and also on Discord. And I just want to talk about it because I have my own thoughts on this because I've been playing the Laser client a bit and also wanted to get my own experience of it. I think it's great. I am improving like insanely on this. I can play 8-star, 7-star stream maps with Hard Rock without a problem anymore, which is stupid. So I don't know. I could be setting some crazy things soon once I keep playing Laser. But yeah, I'll see you guys.